In this lecture, I'd like to talk about relational predicates. So far we've been considering what we might call one-place predicates, like is human or is mortal. These are predicates that express properties that are had by individual things. It is individual things that are human or that are mortal. But some predicates in English, like is a parent of or loves, express relations that hold between things. So I am a parent of Gloria. The predicate is a parent of, as used in that sentence, does not express a property that I have alone, but rather it expresses a relation that holds between myself and Gloria. So what we want to do now is figure out how to translate sentences involving relational predicates into the predicate logic. So let's look at an example of such a sentence. So suppose, for example, that we want to symbolize the sentence, Martin loves Natalia, in the language of predicate logic. We're going to do this as follows. First, we'll let M stand for the name Martin and N stand for the name Natalia. And we'll let L be a two-place predicate, that is, a predicate that takes two arguments, that stands for loves, where LXY is to be read as X loves Y. So L is a two-place predicate. That means it takes two arguments. That means it is followed either by two names or two variables or some mixture of variables and names. And given all this, we can go ahead and symbolize the sentence Martin loves Natalia in the language of predicate logic as LMN. Now note that the order of the names is quite important here. For while it may well be the case that LMN expresses a truth, it might also, very sadly, be false that LNM expresses a truth. Because while it may very well be the case that Martin loves Natalia, it may not be the case that Natalia loves Martin. So the order of the names matters. Okay, let's look at translations involving the predicate loves that use quantifiers and variables instead of names. So consider the sentence, everyone loves someone. I'm going to symbolize this sentence as follows. For any x, there exists a y such that x loves y. That is, everyone loves someone. Now note that in translating this sentence in this way, I am implicitly constraining myself to a certain universe of discourse. That is, I'm constraining myself to a universe of discourse that contains only people. So my quantifiers in this sentence, that is my universal quantifier for any x, and my existential quantifier, there is some y, range only over a universe that contains people. They don't range over anything whatsoever. So, while it may be false that everyone loves someone, it is definitely false that any given thing is such that there is something that it loves. That's definitely false because there are some things, like my laptop, for example, that are incapable of love. So if we were taking the quantifiers in this sentence to range over absolutely everything, this would be a bad translation of this sentence. But it's an okay translation because we can implicitly restrict the sorts of things we're taking our quantifiers to range over, and we can implicitly restrict them to only people. Okay, keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and look at other sentences like this. So how about the sentence, someone loves everyone? So this sentence goes over into predicate logic as follows. There is some x such that for any y, x loves y. That is, someone loves everyone. How about everyone is loved by someone? This goes over into the predicate logic as follows. For any x, there is some y such that y loves x. How about someone is loved by everyone? This goes over into the predicate logic as there is some x such that for any y, y loves x. That is, there is some person such that for any person, that person loves that person. Someone is loved by everyone. How about everyone loves themselves? Well, this goes over into the predicate logic as for any x, x loves x. That is, for any person, that person loves that same person. Everyone loves themselves. Okay, let's look at other kinds of relational predicates that we might want to use. So most of the time in this class we won't concern ourselves with other than one place or two place relational predicates. But in principle, a relational predicate might have any number of places. So consider the following sentence, for example. Columbia is between St. Louis and Kansas City. We could let B stand for a three-place predicate. That is a predicate that takes three arguments. That means blank is between blank and blank. And we can let M, S, and K stand in for the names Columbia, St. Louis, and Kansas City. And then we can abbreviate this sentence, this English sentence, Columbia is between St. Louis and Kansas City, into the predicate logic as follows. BMSK. That sentence says Columbia is between St. Louis and Kansas City. And once again, the order of the names is quite important here. If we mix the names around, this sentence ends up saying different things. Okay, sometimes when we want to translate a sentence in English into predicate logic, the original English sentence is actually ambiguous, and so we have to make choices about how to translate it. Sometimes an English translation or an English sentence has several possible non-equivalent translations into the predicate logic. So let's look at some examples of that sort of thing. Consider the sentence, everyone loves a certain someone. Now this sentence could be taken to mean that there is a certain person, somewhere, who is loved by everyone. That is, it could be taken to express the claim that someone is loved by everyone. So in that case, the correct translation of this sentence is the same as the translation as someone is loved by everyone. And we've already seen how to translate that sentence. It is, there is an x such that for any y, y loves x. Another interpretation of this sentence, though, and one I suspect is the more natural interpretation, is that for any given person, there is some person that person loves. So in that case, the correct translation of the sentence in question is the same as the translation of everyone loves someone. That is, for any x, there is a y, such that x loves y. Now these are both non-equivalent translations of the original sentence. And I suspect that in most contexts in which someone were to utter this sentence in English, the correct interpretation of what they said would be the second one, not the first one. But a case can be made for both of these interpretations. Let's look at another example of an ambiguous sentence. So consider the sentence, all healthy dogs love a bone. how should we understand this sentence? Well, this sentence could mean there is some particular bone which is such that all healthy dogs love that bone. That is, it could be taken to mean there is some X such that X is a bone, and for any Y, if Y is healthy and Y is a dog, then Y loves X. So on this interpretation, the original sentence says there's some bone somewhere, some particular one bone, that is such that every dog in the universe loves that particular bone. I don't think this is the most natural interpretation of this sentence, but it is a possible interpretation. Another possible interpretation of this sentence is any healthy dog is such that there is some particular bone that it loves. Some particular bone or other, perhaps not the same bone for each dog. So in that case, the correct translation of this sentence is, for any X, if X is healthy and X is a dog, then there is some Y such that Y is a bone and X loves Y. So on this interpretation, the original sentence says that any healthy dog is such that there's some particular bone or other, perhaps a different bone for each dog, that it loves. Another possible interpretation of this sentence is any healthy dog loves any bone. In that case, the correct translation of the original sentence is, for any X, if X is healthy and X is a dog, then for any Y, if Y is a bone, then X loves Y. So study these, note the differences between them. In this case, I don't think the first interpretation offered of this sentence is a very natural one, but I do think that the second two interpretations are natural interpretations of this sentence, and that the original English sentence is ambiguous between them. Okay, now that I have talked a little bit about relational predicates, I will go ahead and allow you to complete some homework exercises that allow you to practice translating English sentences involving relational predicates into predicate logic.